The Miami Heat are secretly working on something big going into Game 2 of this 7-game series against the Cleveland Cavaliers after dropping Game 1. We'll break down why to expect Eric Spoelstra to be the perfect guy in this situation to help this Miami Heat team continue to make games competitive and possibly steal a few games here and there against a very talented Cleveland Cavaliers team. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest, so let's get right to it and break down how to feel about Miami going into Game 2. Now, if you did not watch Game 1, it was relatively competitive. Now, if you look at the score and go through the minute-by-minute breakdown of the score going up and really the projections of who was going to win that game, it was favored in Cleveland to Cleveland, and it should have been. Cleveland is obviously the better team on paper, and they had a great night last night. But again, they were not just definitively the better team on the court. And why do I say that? Well, things like the rebounding battle and others were relatively competitive. And now remember, Miami went into halftime only down 8 points to this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And again, we've seen it all season long from this Heat team. The inability to hold on to leads once later into ball games. It was so frustrating during the regular season, blowing 10-point lead after 10-point lead, 10 plus point lead, I should say, because again, Miami was firmly capable of doing just that in blowing leads to teams, whether they were better than Miami on paper or again just overall the eye test, or again teams that Miami should have beaten up on this season. Now back to the game and really the breakdown of how this went against, or for Miami, I should say, against the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you look at the rebounding battle, it was 37-42. And again, this is one of the bigger things. You hear me say it all the time on this channel. If you can win the rebounding battle, or at least keep it competitive amongst the two teams, it should be a very, very good game. If you can win the battle of the boards, whether it be strictly offensively or just overall, usually you are going to be in that ball game. Even if you can't get shots to go, with the ability to offensive rebound as well as, again, not give up offensive rebounds, you are putting yourself in a very good spot to be competitive and win ball games. Outside of that, if we look at the offensive rebounding specifically, 14 to 11 in favor of Cleveland. They do have a lot of size. They have showcased it all season long with Mobley and Allen, and it's going to be hard to really compete against. We knew that going into the series for anyone, regardless of it being Miami or any other team in the Eastern Conference or even out west, Boston, whoever you'd like to name. With Eric Spoelstra at the helm of this Miami Heat team, like he has been for so long at this up to this point, he's been very good, especially after losing Game 1. This is a year-old tweet, so I do apologize. I couldn't find the updated stats behind this, but the idea is still the same. And again, shout out to Hot Hoops. They go on the tweet. Eric Spoelstra is now 10-3 in Game 2s following losing Game 1 in the postseason via ESPN. There is no Heat culture without the mastermind of Spo. And I 100% agree. I think Eric Spoelstra has been one of the lifelines to the Miami Heat organization for the last decade plus. It's especially that Heat culture that I and everyone else talks about when discussing the Miami Heat organization. And again, this is a year old, so it could be blemished just a bit. If you look at the scoring breakdown, but by the quarter here, the worst quarter the Miami Heat had by far and away was the fourth, where they did let things really get out of hand, resulting in a 21-point loss. Again, going into into halftime, only down 8 points to this Cleveland Cavaliers team gives this Miami Heat team a lot of upside. And honestly, it wasn't the overall greatest performance from the Heat either. Now, obviously Cleveland wasn't great, but Miami wasn't. They weren't at their maximum strength in the sense that, yes, they got a lot of help from players like Devion Mitchell, who cannot go ignored in this video. He was phenomenal in that first game, and this is one of the adjustments I was alluding to when bringing up Coach Eric Spoelstra going into tomorrow night's game, Game 2 against Cleveland. And that's the possibility of Devion Mitchell being in the starting lineup. And I know Spo probably wants to maintain size against a team in Cleveland that has such great size, again, with Allen and Mobley. And again, Mitchell being the shooting guard could move him to the small forward. They contain a lot of size and a lot of athleticism amongst the entirety of their roster and lineups whenever they do put them out, regardless of the configuration of those lineups. They maintain it throughout the entirety of the team, which is a benefit to them, and that's why they're going to be hell against really everyone in the league, like we mentioned earlier. But Alex Burks did get the start. He only played 15 minutes in that starting position, and we didn't see a lot of Alex Burks really all season long. It was very, very periodically. He would come in, he'd play a short stint of minutes, and then he would exit. He wasn't ever playing heavy minutes for this Miami Heat team up to this point in the season. Again, being the only only offseason addition for this Heat team this past offseason, outside of the trade, obviously, at the deadline that happened this season. Davion Mitchell was phenomenal. 18 points in 34 minutes. He shot 8 of 12 from the field. He was extremely efficient, and he accepts every challenge defensively. It doesn't matter if it's Donovan Mitchell. It doesn't matter if it's Darius Garland. It doesn't matter if he gets switched on to a big like Allen or Mobley, where he's clearly in a mismatch. He is willing to accept that challenge, and he has that backbone. He really has that mentality that we look for when we hope that Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra and Mickey Arison and the rest of these guys, part of the Miami Heat organization and front office, go out there and look to acquire because of this Heat culture that everyone that has been a fan for years here to come, and again have been fans of in the past of this Heat team, it's that mentality, it's that edge that these players maintain. It might not be all of them, but again, there is a handful of them that maintain this mentality and this attitude that goes very, very good with this Miami Heat organization. Andrew Wiggins didn't have the greatest game, for again mentioning how the Miami Heat didn't have the greatest performance overall. Wiggins was one of those guys who did not look great last night, or excuse me, 2 nights ago. He shot 5 of 11, which is 45%. It's not a horrible clip, but we're going to need to see more from someone in Andrew Wiggins when someone in Tyler Hero has such a difficult matchup against two very good combo guards in Garland and Mitchell. So look for Wiggins to really be a bigger piece offensively for the Miami Heat, and possibly Davion Mitchell to be in the starting lineup. I wouldn't be surprised if Spo didn't move Mitchell to the starting lineup, only because of the boost he has coming off of the bench for this Miami Heat team, as there wasn't a lot more of a really any other spark coming off the bench for this Heat team in this game one, outside of Mitchell, really outside of Robinson and Highsmith as well, who didn't have the greatest offensive showings. Robinson went 2 of 3 from behind the three-point line, but not very active shooting the basketball in just 15 minutes of play. And then Highsmith was strictly in there, it felt like, as a defensive presence, more of a D and 3 type of guy. Again, with a lack of shot attempts up in this game, 3 of 4 overall, 1 of 2 from behind the three-point line. Overall, a defensive guy out there for this Miami Heat team, really trying to minimize the athleticism and the overall flexibility of this Cleveland Cavaliers roster. Again, Jaquez could possibly be another guy we see more in this series as time goes on because of the size and the ability to defend. Outside of that, I'm not sure of the actual changes that Eric Spoelstra will go ahead and make, but those are ones that I could definitely see possibly happening. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes on to play out. Tomorrow night will be game 2 in Cleveland. It should be very exciting. And the reason being is because, well, Miami has their hands full. We knew that going into this series. It was something that was apparent to, and again, not just to the Miami Heat. This is to anyone in the NBA because of the talent and the abilities of this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Let me know down below what you guys think about when this series will end. How many games is it going to go, and who is going to be the victor? I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest. Thank you guys for watching.